Hi, how you doing? Get a hope. I just wanted to share with you a book that I've had for many, many years and hardly ever looked at it. In fact, this picture book, I was still in the first chapter of it and wasn't that greatly interested. But thinking back, pictures weren't that interesting to me in my younger days. But I always like to take pictures of my kids and loved ones, and that's pretty much all I did. And I can remember after reading some of the history, and there's so much history in it, that when I was little, one of the first books that comes out with pictures of a fetus in a womb was at my house, and I found it one day when I was really little and just started looking at it, and my mom caught me and took it away from me and hid it in the top of the closet. Well, I snuck back in there later and got it down and looked at it and got in trouble again. She hid it somewhere else. We weren't even allowed to look at things like that when we were little bitty. So apparently kids are being taught younger and younger now than when they used to be, but yet they want to keep us dumbed down. That doesn't make any sense. I guess it's sociology things that they want to keep us dumbed down about, as well as political and law. And the name of this book is The Body: Photographs of the Human Form by William A. Ewing. And it does have some strange pictures in it. Here's one of the first ones. I guess what that is. Doesn't really say. There are some strange pictures in here for sure. I got so engrossed in it, I read the whole thing in just a couple of days. In the preface it says, "Why is it today that the human body is at the center of so much attention? Why are magazines, newspapers, television, and advertisements saturated with images of naked or virtually naked bodies? Why are so many writers, artists, and photographers so profoundly concerned with the subject? And why in all this do we discern a rising tide of unease, even panic? Is it, as many believe, the scourge of AIDS which fuels the concern, or perhaps the disembodiment implicit in the computer age? Is it, as some academics maintain, that the body, as we have come to understand it, no longer exists? Or could it even be that the body is merely in fashion? What puts the body squarely in the center of debate is not fashion, but urgency. The body is being rethought and reconsidered by artists and writers because it is being restructured and reconstituted by scientists and engineers. In an era when parts can be routinely detached from one body and plugged into another, when the U.S. National Institute of Health offered to replace corpses in medical schools with industry standard digital cadavers, when certain machines can appropriate the functions of human organs while others are invested with intelligence, when the life of the body can be prolonged, when the mind has ceased to function, when genetic change can be engineered and human beings cloned, when a fetus can be nurtured in an artificial womb or jobbed out to a surrogate mother, when we entrust automatons to land our jets or perform operations on our bodies, when the New York Times informs us that, contrary to what most of us had believed, there are 3, 4, or possibly 5 genders, when we capriciously rebuild faces, breasts, or thighs to conform to the moment's ideal of beauty, and when we dream of Robocops, Terminators, and replicants, and long to live in a virtual reality, when concepts and definitions, values and beliefs, rights and laws must be radically overhauled." And this is really some good writing to go with some of these pictures. And here's a strange picture on the front. Yeah, that's weird enough. Oh, the light's shining on it. Politicians and ideologues of all persuasions have used photography to put forward visions of perfect bodies as emblems of their own conceptions of a healthy body politic. Pornographers, too, have long understood that the lure of sexually explicit photographs, but the same images are held up by feminists as proof of male domination and insensitivity. In and of itself, photography professes no morality and no allegiance. Yes, I can remember back when there was just pictures of women's naked bodies that would have an underground sale. And in the introduction, in the autumn of 1879, a series of articles appeared in the Photographic News, an influential British journal, on the subject of great fascination to the Victorians, the Zulus of South Africa. These articles are remarkably revealing not only of British perception of non-Western peoples, but of 19th century attitudes generally to the human body. Directly or indirectly, they illuminate a whole range of issues highly significant for Victorian England. Notions of race, concepts of beauty, sexuality, and man's animal nature. See, I knew it. I knew men had an animal nature. Beliefs about decency and morality and the distinction between savagery and civilization, assumptions about social class, and even the rightful place of the body in arts and science. Oh, if you could only see all these pictures in this book. I don't know if you can see this one, it's awfully small. He's got pins in his hand. I don't know if you can see that or not. Uh-oh. Wow, it's weird. They do have some strange pictures in here. And in the one called Estrangement, mankind which in Homer's time was an object of contemplation for the Olympic gods, now is one for itself. Its self-alienation has reached such a degree that it can experience its own destruction as an aesthetic pleasure of the first order. By Walter Benjamin, Illuminations, 1936. The stream of genetic knowledge which began to flow in the 1970s has now reached the proportions of a deluge. Within our lifetimes, we can expect to see the full genetic blueprint of the human body. The implications, moral and ethical, social and political, are bewildering. Human beings are gradually being given the tools to alter the natural order, to reinvent themselves. There are already reports of... Okay, some more about the photography. This is a really smart guy, I'm telling you. Photography has undoubtedly improved our physical and mental well-being. As a tool of science and medicine, its contributions are beyond dispute, and as an art form, it has enriched our understanding of the body in less quantifiable but no less significant ways. Not only have photographs convinced us of the profound aesthetic pleasures to be gained from contemplation of the body, they have also forced us to confront the darker sides of our natures, the fears and irrationalities that may drive us ultimately to deprive and abuse the bodies of others. Photographers of war and its horrific aftermath are among those who have not been afraid to hold a mirror to these negative forces. Show me Tussi's image of a Hiroshima victim's hideous scar is a reminder of the 20th century's appetite for killing on a grand scale. Every living person looking at this image must realize that she He, too, in the atomic age, is, in Paul Victoriolio's words, a human negative waiting to be processed. There is no doubt that we are better informed about the human consequences of wars, famines, and all natural and man-made catastrophes as a result of ubiquitous photographic imagery. Although, as Walter Benjamin suggests, rather than sensitizing us, it may have been one of the forces contributing to quite the opposite effect, leaving us passive and demoralized. We often look away when confronted with imagery of the sick, the deformed, the dead, and dying. But in the 19th century there was a brisk trade in such photographs of the other, the circus freak, the bearded lady, Siamese twins, and so forth, were popular subjects to be collected and traded. To the extent that we worry about exploitation of bodies which do not conform to the norm or suffer from some affliction, our reticence is humane. But to the extent that we refuse to confront the human condition, it is pathological. A number of contemporary photographers have taken up the subject of death and disease in order to force such a confrontation. And oh yes, that always must be done sooner or later. And here's a picture of a deformity of foot, and I'm not showing you the other one because it's a naked hermaphrodite. I thought this picture of the foot was rather strange. What if your foot was deformed like that? It would be really hard to walk around. I never hear anything about hermaphrodites anymore. That's a man-woman person. Poor babies. Little tiny lady. Oh. That was Princess Wee Wee, the smallest, perfectly formed little woman in the world. I'm not going to stick very many of these pictures up there naked, but yeah, there's some very strange looking scantily clothed pictures too as well. Oh. And this picture here, this is in Rome. In Rome, Italy. This is attributed to the Alarni brothers. It's the cemetery of the Cappuccini, Rome, 1870. What is the Catholic land doing with all these skulls in here? Why? Personally, it looks wicked to me. What do you think? I know men don't like to show their naked, so this poor lady, she was had a hardship with her body. Oh my gosh, you should see some of these pictures. back of a man's head. Some of these are really hard to see, but you can see it very well if you had the book. And here's twins. They're stuck together. Oh my gosh. There's a guy that's got a needle all the way through his arm. He's got tattoos all over his body. I think there's some people that have more than that now. I think I've seen some pictures on the internet about them. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's up with this one. Why she has... Is that like tattoos in a way to sew yourself up like that to make it look like you've been cut open? I'm sure I don't know. And you know, they have babies and stuff in jars, but I don't hear any of the pro-lifers talking bad about it. I mean, after all, that's for the medical people, isn't it? Makes me wonder about them too. Oh, this is just the start of it. And then there's a chapter called Idols. Our culture holds the body beautiful in great esteem. Models, we call the templates of physical perfection, which gaze at us seductively from all sides. These are the true idols of our age, representing beauty, vitality, health, youth, even freedom. Should this celebration of bodily ideals be seen as a welcome shift from the repression of physicality that has characterized so many periods in the past, or is the picture in fact far less rosy? Today, the cult of physical perfection often leads to obsession and neurosis. The rising incidence of the eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia, and the increasingly widespread recourse to cosmetic surgery as a means of enhancing beauty and cheating the aging process suggests a dark side to the quest for bodily perfection. In terms of how we feel about ourselves physically, observes Dami Wolf of Modern Women, we may actually be worse off than our unliberated grandmothers. Nor are men of today free of anxieties relating to their supposed physical shortcomings. The seeds of these anxieties are often sown by photography, mostly significantly by advertising imagery, which encourages us to compare our own imperfect bodies with the idealized form of others. The fact that these idealized body images bear little relation to reality, but have been carefully fabricated by photographers in collusion with stylists, makeup artists, fashion and beauty editors, retouchers, and printers generally pass unnoticed. Photography of this kind is so persuasive that it is taken as absolute proof of the efficacy of this or that product, regime, or lifestyle. The before and after photographic comparison remains a staple advertising technique 100 years after it was first used. And could you imagine? Now, she was in an old bathing suit, but boy, I bet those men thought she was really sexy. And you know what? They still have statues and things that are naked, even in our nation's capital. That's one of them that Bush's, whatever he was, what's his name? I can't remember. Went out there and threw sheets all over those naked statues up there. Oh. There's a naked man. I know men don't like to be seen naked by nobody, so. But oh, here, they had pictures to impress women with. Wow. Muscle man kicking sand in this skinny's face and get his girl. I remember those commercials and magazines, do you? So they could teach men for money how to be muscular. Mighty man. Oh yeah. Oh, here's one. Oh, he's sexy. And you got a skin suit on so you can't. Oh man. I think he's really hiding. Got a black suit on, so it's really hard to see on there. And there's Superman. And Raquel Welch. Oh man. I thought this was rather strange. Huh. Oh yes, there are many strange pictures in here. And I really got interested in pictures after getting on the internet. And was taking pictures myself and uploading them. And looking at others, and it's really, really interesting what people will take pictures of. And the last part of it, I have said that an image is political when it is used to sway our opinions, because images are often appropriated for uses which were never intended by their makers. In the 1930s, Nazi propagandists juxtaposed medical photographs of deformed and handicapped bodies with the distorted figures of expressionist paintings to prove the degeneracy of the artists and thereby justify censorship. In our own time, pro-life demonstrators hold up a medical photograph of a fetus in the womb to attack what they see as the inhuman practice of abortion, while a clothing manufacturer appropriates an image of a man dying of AIDS for an advertisement. Where politics are concerned, context is all. Let me see. They're using us for propaganda, our bodies for propaganda, for politics. And vanity means it's not just all, but it's money. That would be one of Mammon's little idols, wouldn't it? One of his workers. Certain contemporary photographers and artists have taken on the task of examining, exposing, and subverting these political, economic, and technological ideologies, while others have focused on pathologies which lie closer to the surface of the body politic, on prejudice, exploitation, and willful ignorance. The conceptual and pictorial strategies that have been adopted are diverse, but it may be helpful to think in terms of three main approaches. First, there is a so-called straight photography, meaning that the photographer documents a given situation. Then there are theatrical or stage works in which an actor, sometimes the photographer, plays a stereotypical role in order to have it critically examined. Third, there are literally images which disassemble found imagery and reassemble in parts. Lastly, there are synthetic works constructed from images and text. The dangers implicit in the worship of technology and a blind faith in scientific progress are recurrent themes. Artist Jana Sturbach's victim suffers the ignominy of having a barcode stamped onto his neck, a warning to us all that in a consumerist society, the body is nothing more than another commercial product to be monitored and controlled. And I do agree with that, because I think there are some big old churches whose product is a body and soul of people. Lynn Cohan's laboratory sounds a similar note of unease over our faith in technology. This bizarre site, with its mise-en-scene, which strives to project an image of cool scientific investigation, strikes us more as a factory in which bodies are just pieces of hardware to be turned up for enhanced performance. Photographer Mike Mandel is more ambivalent as what he calls a born-again Gilbreth, referring to the pioneers of time and motion analysis. He believes that many of the dehumanizing tasks bodies have had to perform could well be taken over by machines. But relinquishing control is not without risk. Mandel's frenetic robot threatens to push the real body aside. And that's true, because I've always heard the rich men want to make robots to do their tasks and dirty work so they don't have to pay them anything. They just let us starve to death if they have robots to do their dirty work. Something to think about, huh? Some new ways to look at pictures also. Nancy Burson, on the other hand, embraces advanced technology, making it the medium of her art. Using complex computer programs devised in collaboration with Richard Carling and David Kramlich, she creates composite generic portraits of human beings, an androgyne consisting of 6 men and 6 women, mankind, a being made up of individuals of 3 races, each weighed according to a proportion of the population of what we might call a human animal, like a composite of a man and a chimpanzee. Too often, Burson suggests human beings are instructed in their differences of gender, sexual orientation, race, even their supposed distances from their animal ancestors, rather than being reminded of the body as a common bond. Really? I have been wondering if maybe we all have some different genes of maybe perhaps animals as well. I have heard of men sexing animals before too, even when I was young. This is the last lady's pictures. A similar sentiment is expressed in Michelle Branford's Pierced Hermaphrodite. This hypothetical being compounded of fragmentary photographs of the bodies of 4 men and women, neither sex yet both, forces the viewer to rethink notions of difference and separation, or in the photographer's words, all the possible ways of joining and of gaining sexual intimacy. So I guess that's what Pictures of Them is about. But I've never heard of any one of them around anymore, have you? Oh, I tell you, this is a very fascinating book, very informative, educational. And you should see some of these pictures in here. Here's a forbidden actor picture. You got some strange looking eyes. Oh, yes. You could probably find this at a library or one of the bookstores if you want to buy one to keep it, because it's really fascinating. In fact, it could be a conversation piece to put on your coffee table at home when you have company. Actually, I would think so, if I had that going. Okay. And here's the pretty picture of the lady on the front of the book they used as its main picture. Alright. Y'all have a great night or day wherever you are. And hey, let's throw some more pictures up there to look at and study on what they're trying to teach us with the pictures today on commercials and advertisements. Night. Later.